A thrilling finish in Dubai, and it ends on the right side for the Chennai Super Kings. They ensure KKR don't do the double over them, and they don't do it in similar fashion that they did in the reverse fixture, nearly choking a game towards the last 4 overs after CSK looked on top. This time, though, they had Ruturaj Gaikwad setting it up. They had a wonderful cameo from Ravindra Jadeja, and they had a little help from what was Lockie Ferguson's first day off in this tournament. We look back at that game. It had its highs and lows on Whirlpool Presents, ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by Dell. Deep Dasgupta is here. Ian Bishop is here. We've seen so many games just twist and turn in ways that we can't possibly comprehend. So let's try and make sense of this one. Deep, where was this game finally decided? Was it that 19th over from Lockie Ferguson?
Yeah, I guess to a great extent, yes. I think the Varun Chakravarti over was brilliant. It pulled it back for KKR. I think a wicket and 2 runs in the 15th over that was backed by a good over from Sunil. And then, yeah, the 19th over, 20 runs with that no ball and a wide ball, yeah, costed them a bit.
Yeah, it looked like, Bish, can you hear me? Have you got me, Bish?
Yeah. I lost Deep there for a minute.
Just making sure. Brilliant. All right. It looked like when Lockie Ferguson actually bowled that 19th over, that the pressure was somewhat going off from KKR, that it was more towards CSK. Would you agree with Deep that by and large this game has changed in that 20-run over by Lockie?
Yeah, when you go into the last 2 overs and you sort of need 30 of the last 2, and then you have one of your international premier strike bowlers to bowl that penultimate over, which is the modus operandi, isn't it? You get what you perceive to be one of your best bowlers to bowl the penultimate over. Well, Lockie Ferguson has gone from a hero in the first game, not quite to 0, but that was a poor over to leave 10 only for Kamlesh Nagarkoti at the back end.
Yeah, let's ask the fast bowler now. When Morgan's pointed out that dew was a significant factor, the spinners seem to be the outstanding bowlers on the night, Bish. But if you look back at that Lockie over, can you somewhere afford him a little more benefit or a longer rope? Because dew was in play, there was a full toss on leg stump that went for 4. There was that waist-high full toss that yielded the free hit, which eventually cost a lot more. Can you sympathize with the fast bowler?
Of course I can. I can sympathize with the team that feels second. Dew was mentioned from very early in the piece, from almost the start of the game. There was talk about it. And in previous games as well, that dew was starting to become a factor in games, particularly in Dubai and to a lesser extent, maybe Sharjah. So I've been in that situation before myself as a player. It's not easy. Teams practice with a wet ball to try to compensate, but there's very little you can do apart from trying to dry the ball as much as possible. So it's tough, a tough lesson for Nagarkoti, still a tough lesson for Ferguson. I thought Chakrabarti's 15th over of the innings was the one that shifted things back towards KKR. Unfortunately, they couldn't hold on.
Yeah, it would have been a different conversation had KKR won. We'd have focused on that Varun Chakravarti over. But let's focus on the rights for Chennai Super Kings, Deep. And Ravindra Jadeja's cameo, 31-11. Maybe he got a little bit of help from Lockie Ferguson. But these are the kind of games you expect a player of Jadeja's experience, who plays that role as a finisher, to see off at the end of the line. That's a very good day with bat and ball for Ravindra Jadeja.
Absolutely, yes. And we've been talking about this in the show as well, about Ravindra Jadeja and his exploits with the bat in the last couple of years. I think we've been talking about how he should be promoted up the order and should be given a little more responsibility with the bat as well, because he's been doing really well with the bat. But I tell you what, 7 runs of the last 2 balls wasn't an easy thing. I mean, I'm sure he must be feeling the pressure then. 7 of 2. But yeah, I mean, kept his calm. And actually, if you see that shot, he backed his strength. Didn't go for those airy-fairy shots. He stood there straight, still head, and just backed his strength.
Yeah, who's to say who? I mean, who knows who's going to be retained by Chennai as they look to revamp and transform Bish? You can't really say for sure that any player is safe and secure. Player like Jadeja just perhaps reinforcing his worth today when he takes these sorts of games over the line for his side.
He's played a number of nice little innings throughout the season. And just to encapsulate or to repeat what Deep is saying, he needed, I think, earlier in the season, I think it was mentioned a couple of times by different people, to face more balls. It's the
Yeah.
same thing that on this show I've said about Dwayne Bravo and Jadeja. When guys are playing this well, you need to give them the opportunity to face more deliveries in a batting lineup that was floundering. So it's good that he showed his skill tonight, and it really does set him up for the future.
All right. Another man that's set up for the future very nicely is Ruturaj Gaikwad. That
Oh,
was fun.
that was fun. That was, I don't know, felt so good watching him bat. Very orthodox cricket, straight bat, use the crease really well. So he wasn't looking to, play those T20 shots, but he was actually using the crease well, moved outside off stump, still played with a straight bat, outside leg stump, still played with the straight bat, was absolutely brilliant. You know what the other thing I was doing while he was batting was I was trying to see his dot balls. And he's actually played only 10 or 11 dot balls in that innings, and out of which I'm talking about Varun and Sunil Narayan, where a lot of batsmen struggled to rotate strike against them, right? He actually played together. He's played 6 dot balls against Varun and Sunil Narayan. I mean, that just tells you how comfortable he is. The other aspect of the game, like playing the spinners, playing the middle overs, rotating the strike. Yeah, he comes across as a really, really good talent. Listen, I've seen him in domestic cricket. But this is definitely a step up, and obviously when he's doing so well at this level, so obviously he's got the goods.
Season gone or not gone for Chennai, Bish, you'd think someone like Ruturaj Gaikwad has plenty to play for. And with the sort of start and the first few opportunities he got, he's now converted that into something big at the top of the order. And like Deep says, he looked comfortable against pace, against spin. He even looked the most seasoned pro in that partnership against Raidu.
All right, give me 45 seconds to see if I can chronicle the answer to this question here. First of all, I want to anoint Deep chief selector. He has seen every cricketer in the nation, and he speaks the gospel whenever he talks about strengths and weaknesses. I want to commend him for that. If I were Richard Gaikwad, I would do a Dinesh Ramdin from years back and hold up a sheet of paper and say, talk now, because 2 games ago, remember Deep when they got in to the team when Chennai changed up everything and he failed. They were run over a little bit. I think it was Mumbai Indians. I can't remember who it was. People were saying, well, they're not ready. Why bring these kids in? Rah, 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 rah. Well, he's played 2 innings here and 2 shots stand out to me. There was a cover drive, an extra cover drive in the air over cover tonight. I can't remember who it was hit off of. And then he almost swept Lockie Ferguson for a 4 late in the innings. That showed me one, great courage. Deep talks about rotation of strike, but the guy is very straight lines, very orthodox, but he's looking as though at 23, he can play this T20 format very well.
Well, there is an aging CSK team, but who is to say that this new age of cricket, led by the likes of Ruturaj Gaikwad, won't feature in a significant capacity in time to come? So this could very well be a turn for CSK. And yes, don't rule out the Deep Das Gupta could very well be chief selector very soon, Bish. With the powers
my vote. He has my vote.
That dome the BCCI these days, you never know. Right. Let's get back to the game, shall we? That partnership with Ambati Raidu, again important. We've seen it before, Deep. Till Raidu's there, it looks like CSK are just, cantering away to victory. And then his wicket falls and all of a sudden things change. But for the extent that it was there, Raidu's partnership significant?
Very significant. And Raidu is a busy player, right? He's always doing something or the other. He'll try something out. Suddenly he'll come out. And I mean, that over from Cummins, I mean, the over that he got out to as well. I mean, he just took him on. So, I mean, you expect Raidu to do things like that. I mean, that also brings his downfall more often than not. I've seen him for the last 10, 12 years. But he's a busy player. So as long as he's there, he'll keep the scoreboard moving. He'll keep doing something or the other. But he will also kind of at times, play some really uncharacteristic shot and get out as well.
Yeah, he was 4 or 5, Bish, and the little things we look back if a team doesn't end up on the right side. And the 10th over was given to Nitish Rana. Raidu hit 3 4s, he gets on his way. You look back at that and you think of little things, decision making. Does Rana need to be given an over at that stage?
I don't know. It obviously didn't work out. I don't blame them for trying to squeeze one in somewhere, but these are the matchups of T20 cricket where if you can target a guy who is a part-timer, hey, fair call to Raidu and those guys. They did it very, very well. But the game did still come back into KKR's favor through that Chakrabarti over. We can't forget that. And 30 of the last two, you have to think that you're in the game even for the due if you are KKR.
All right. And let's look back at that first innings. Owen Morgan believes deep that they had the runs. In hindsight, as you look back at it, looking at how big a role you ended up playing, and I guess you'd calculate that when you're batting first too. Did they err in just getting 10 or 15 short? Does that batting order call to send Rinku Singh now look a little more? Can you be more critical of it now?
I mean, listen, we were critical of it back then as well, and irrespective, KKR went on to, win this game or not, we would still be, at least I would still be critical about it, because end of the day, you want your best batsman out there as early as possible. Yes, you might have a few, uh, you know, uh, things that you don't want to do. I can understand if Morgan doesn't want to come out before a certain time, but yeah, at times you've just got to do it. I mean, the Rinku Singh episode you mentioned. I mean, listen, the halftime show we mentioned that it's a pass score. None of us said it was a winning total. It was a pass score, and yeah, we always knew that you will be a factor here.
With so much on the line, Bishkin, what's your 13th game of the season? They're not out of it, they're still in it, but this does dent their chances. With so much on the line, keeping a guy in this first game and then sending him ahead of Owen Morgan, does that just not sit well at the end of it when you've lost?
Yeah, look, I still felt it was enough. That for me, if you're a contending team, you're a team before the start of the game tonight, you are in contention. You should be desperate and doing everything you need to do. Your best players doing the most work to try to win this game against a team who basically they can't qualify. They're
Yeah.
looking to rejig their lineup. And so it would be disappointing even with that score. And I still say in that last 5 overs, they had a chance to win the game. They could not close it out. So if I'm in KKR dugout, I'm saying that's on me, fellas. We really had our chance against the bottom ranked team and we messed up.
All right. Now let's have a look at the points table, shall we? This does dent KKR's chances. They're still not out of it by any stretch of imagination. There are scenarios in which they could win their last game and still end on 14, and we would have a case where that could be enough. But there are plenty more fixtures now that I think we need to just update that. But once we do, you will know
Can
that.
I quickly add, Ronak, to that KKR thing? The only issue with KKR is they're done with 13 games. You still
Yeah.
don't know their batting lineup,
Yes.
their combination.
Yeah.
I mean, tomorrow when Andre Russell comes back in and is fit, who goes out, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So that is an area of concern. By now, as a team who is aspiring to qualify, they're still in that race to qualify. At least should know their combination. I mean, this game they changed their combination. They played an extra batsman, right? So they're still not aware of the best playing 11 or combination. Now that's a concern for me, even after 13 games.
Yeah, maybe today helps them figure out who comes. I mean, Loki's had a bad day. Maybe that'll help. But point well taken, Vish, isn't it? KKR, a team that was in a stronger position to make the playoffs, you think, than some of the others, Rajasthan, Hyderabad included. They could have still ended on 16 points. And this whole point of not knowing their team until the 13th game, it's cost them, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a strange season to add to everything that Deep has said. It's been a strange season of decision making. Today, Sunil Narayan bowled an over at Watson in the power play. He did not bowl an over until I think over number 12 in the game that KKR actually won. Lockie Ferguson bowling within the power play today. He did not bowl when KKR were trying to defend 80 odd. So all along with the batting movements, it has been a strange season for KKR. Whether or not they go on to get into the postseason, there's too much instability there.
Yeah. Let's throw the captaincy shift mid-season to add to whatever we've seen of KKR this season, but it's not been smooth sailing for the Knight Riders. We'll see how they eventually finish. That is the updated points table. So KKR can only get to a maximum of 14. It also confirms Mumbai Indians' qualification in the playoff spots. They're looking very good for a top two finish. RCB would welcome this result. Delhi Capitals would welcome this result. KKR were one of the two teams that could have still ended on 16 points to put those two teams slightly under pressure. But as it looks now, KKR with that negative run rate as well, keep an eye out on that net run rate. It could very well come into play to decide fourth spot. They've got a game against Rajasthan Royals, who are in action themselves tomorrow against the Kings 11 Punjab. So much can change by the time KKR play their final game. We'll see how they do the last few days. Thank you very much, Ian Bishop and Deep Das Gupta. You've got a long day's work tomorrow, so enjoy that, and we'll see you again on our network very shortly on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by Dell.